No one marries a fat black man, he said. The CEO smiled. Then, let's prove them wrong. Booker Washington sat in the conference room of Summit Digital Solutions, trying to make himself smaller in the executive chair that felt too narrow for his frame. At 33, Booker was a brilliant software architect who designed 3 of the company's most profitable platforms. He was also a fat black man in a tech industry that worshipped thin white bodies and penalized anyone who didn't fit that mold. The team meeting had just ended when Royce Callahan, a sales director with more arrogance than actual skill, made his announcement. "Vanessa and I are getting married," Royce said, showing off his fiancée's ring to the remaining colleagues. 3 years together. Best decision I ever made. Everyone congratulated him. Everyone except Booker, who'd gathered his laptop and was heading for the door. "Hey, Washington," Royce called out, his voice carrying that particular tone that always preceded something cruel. "When are you going to settle down? Find yourself a nice girl?" Booker forced a smile. "When I meet the right person, I suppose. Good luck with that." Royce laughed, and others in the room shifted uncomfortably. Let's be real. No one marries a fat black man, especially not in this industry. Women here want successful guys who look the part. You know what I mean. The words landed like physical blows. Booker felt every eye in the room on him. Some sympathetic, most just uncomfortable, a few nodding agreement with Royce's assessment. His colleague Porter Simmons looked mortified, but said nothing. The silence was its own form of violence. "Right," Booker said quietly, his voice carefully controlled despite the rage and hurt churning inside him. "Excuse me." He walked out with as much dignity as he could muster, but the humiliation burned through him. It wasn't the first time someone had commented on his body. It wasn't the first time someone had suggested he was unlovable because of his weight and race combined. But it never stopped hurting. Booker made it to his office before the emotion overwhelmed him. He sat heavily in his reinforced desk chair, one he'd had to specially request from HR because the standard office chairs couldn't support his weight, and put his head in his hands. "Booker?" He looked up to find Greer Ashford standing in his doorway. At 35, Greer was the CEO of Summit Digital Solutions, having taken over the company from her father 3 years ago. She was striking. Blonde hair cut in a sharp bob, gray eyes that missed nothing, and a presence that commanded attention. She wore a tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than Booker's monthly rent. "Miss Ashford." Booker quickly composed himself, wiping at his eyes. "I didn't hear you. Is there something you need?" "I was passing by and heard what happened in the conference room. Felicity gave me the summary." Felicity was Greer's assistant, a no-nonsense woman who kept the CEO informed about everything. What Royce said was completely inappropriate. "It's fine. I'm used to it." "You shouldn't have to be used to it." Greer stepped fully into his office and closed the door behind her. "Booker, may I speak candidly?" "Of course." "Royce Callahan is an ass. He's mediocre at his job, trades on his family connections, and compensates for his inadequacy by tearing others down. What he said was racist, fatphobic, and unprofessional. And he's wrong." Booker looked up, surprised by her vehemence. "Wrong about what?" "About you being unmarriageable. About anyone being unmarriageable based on body type or race. About everything." Greer's eyes were fierce. "You're one of the most talented people in this company. You're kind, brilliant, and frankly, you deserve better than to work somewhere where people like Royce are tolerated. Are you firing me?" "What?" "No, I'm saying you deserve better treatment. And Royce is the one who should be worried about his job, not you." Booker studied her, trying to understand why the CEO was in his office defending him. Greer Ashford had a reputation for being tough but fair, for promoting based on merit rather than connections. But she'd never shown him particular attention before. "Thank you," Booker said finally. "That means more than you know." "Good. Now, I have a question for you, and I want you to think carefully before answering." "Okay. What would it take to prove Royce wrong? To show him and everyone else in this company that his narrow, prejudiced worldview is bullshit?" Booker blinked. "I don't understand." Greer smiled. Not her professional CEO smile, but something more genuine and slightly mischievous. "What if we proved them wrong together? You and me. What if we showed this entire company that love isn't about fitting some narrow aesthetic standard?" "Ms. Ashford, I don't—" "Let's prove them wrong, Booker. Date me. Publicly, let's make them eat their words. Booker stared at her, certain he'd misheard. But Greer's expression was serious. Her eyes locked on his with an intensity that made his breath catch. You want to date me? To prove a point? I want to date you because I think you're incredible. The proving a point part is just a bonus. She extended her hand. What do you say? Want to show Royce Callahan exactly how wrong he is? Against all logic, against every instinct telling him this was too good to be true, Booker reached out and shook her hand. Okay, let's prove them wrong. Hello, my Stop Racism family. Thank you for tuning in today. Before we dive deeper into this beautiful love story, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your country and state in the comments below. Also, I'd love to know your thoughts. What did you think of the story so far? Do you believe love can truly conquer prejudice? Let us know in the comments. We love reading them. And trust me, your words motivate us to keep making these videos. Let's make this video reach at least 50 comments. Your support means the world to us, and it drives us to create even more meaningful content for you. So don't forget to comment, share, and keep spreading love. That evening, Booker met his best friend Winston Hayes at their usual spot, a dive bar in Brooklyn where nobody cared about tech industry politics or corporate hierarchies. Winston was a high school teacher, grounded and practical, exactly the person Booker needed when his life took unexpected turns. She wants to date you? Winston repeated, his beer halfway to his mouth. The CEO? Greer Ashford? That's what she said. To prove Royce wrong about the no one marries a fat black man thing. Booker, that's either the most romantic thing I've ever heard or a HR nightmare waiting to happen. Possibly both. I know, it's insane. But Winston, the way she looked at me, it didn't feel like pity or some social justice project. It felt real. Have you considered she might actually be into you? Not as a statement, but as a person? Booker took a long drink. Why would she be? Look at me. I am looking at you. I see my best friend who's smart, funny, loyal, and happens to be a genius with code. Why wouldn't she be into you? Because Don't say it. Don't reduce yourself to what Royce and people like him see. You're more than your body type, Book. But that's all most people see. Then those people are idiots. And maybe Greer's different. Winston leaned forward. Look, I get being scared. You've been hurt before. That thing with Nash's sister. We don't talk about that. We should talk about it. Tiffany led you on for 3 months, let you think she was serious, then laughed in your face when you suggested making it official. That was cruel. But Book, not every woman is Tiffany. Greer's white, rich, beautiful, CEO of a major tech company. Why would she want me when she could have literally anyone? Maybe ask her that. Have an actual conversation before you assume this is fake or doomed. Booker knew Winston was right, but the fear was deeply rooted. Years of rejection, mockery, being passed over for relationships, watching thinner colleagues date easily while he was treated as invisible or worse, a joke. The next morning, Greer called Booker to her office. The space was impressive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan, minimalist furniture, awards and accolades displayed tastefully. Greer sat behind her desk, but stood when Booker entered. Thank you for coming. I wanted to clarify yesterday's conversation in case I came across as impulsive. You want to take it back? Booker felt disappointment he had no right to feel. No, I want to make sure you understand I'm serious. Booker, I've been watching you for months. The way you solve problems, how you treat colleagues, your integrity when dealing with clients. You're impressive. And yesterday, watching Royce humiliate you, it made me furious. Not just because it was wrong, but because he was talking about someone I'm genuinely interested in. You're interested in me? Romantically? Yes. Is that so hard to believe? Honestly? Yes. Greer, He gestured at her, then at himself. I'm not exactly what people expect to see beside you. Good. I'm tired of what people expect. My ex-boyfriend Nash was exactly what everyone expected. Handsome, wealthy, connected. He was also boring, selfish, and more interested in my family's money than in me. I want something real. Someone real. And Booker, when I look at you, I see someone worth knowing. What about the company? The board? Your family? The board reports to me, not the other way around. And my family. She paused. My parents have opinions about everything. But this is my life. My choice. If they can't accept it, that's their problem. You're really willing to deal with all the judgment? The stares? The comments? Are you? Booker considered. I've dealt with judgment my whole life. One more source won't kill me. But Greer, I need to know. Is this real? Or am I your social experiment? She came around the desk, standing close enough that he could smell her perfume, something subtle and expensive. This is real, and I'd like to take you to dinner. Tonight, a proper first date. Will you say yes? Looking into her eyes, seeing genuine interest and vulnerability there, Booker made a decision that would change everything. Yes, I'll go to dinner with you. Greer's smile was brilliant. Good. I'll pick you up at 7. And Booker? Wear something comfortable. We're not going anywhere fancy. Just us. Greer picked Booker up at 7 sharp, driving herself in a sleek black Tesla that probably cost more than everything Booker owned combined. But she was dressed casually. Jeans, a soft gray sweater, her blonde hair loose around her shoulders. She looked younger, more relaxed than her CEO persona. You look nice, she said as Booker settled into the passenger seat. You too? Different than at work. That's the idea. Tonight, I'm not your boss. I'm just Greer. And you're just Booker. No titles, no hierarchy. Deal? Deal. She drove them to a small Italian restaurant in Queens. Family-owned, cozy, with checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. Nothing like the upscale places Booker had expected. This is my favorite restaurant in New York, Greer explained as they were seated in a quiet corner. My father used to bring me here when I was a kid, before Summit Digital took off, before we had money. The owner, Mrs. Rossi, still remembers me. As if summoned, an elderly Italian woman appeared with menus and bright smiles. Greer, Mia cara, you didn't tell me you were bringing a handsome young man. Mrs. Rossi, this is Booker. Booker, this is the woman who taught me everything about good food and family. Mrs. Rossi studied Booker with warm brown eyes. You treat her right, yes? She deserves good man. I'll do my best, Booker said, charmed despite his nervousness. After Mrs. Rossi left to get their drinks, Greer leaned forward. So, tell me about yourself. Real things, not the resume version. What do you want to know? Everything. Where you grew up, what you love, what scares you. I want to know Booker the person, not Booker the software architect. So Booker talked about growing up in Philadelphia with his siblings, his sister Sienna, who was a nurse, his younger brother Dante, who taught music, about his parents who'd worked 3 jobs between them to put their kids through college, about discovering coding at age 12 and falling in love with the logic and creativity of it. What about you? Booker asked when their food arrived. CEO at 35 is impressive. CEO at 35 because my father had a heart attack and the board needed someone fast. I'd been CFO, so I was the obvious choice. But Booker, I earned my position. I know people think I just inherited it, but I've worked for Summit Digital since I was 22. I know every department, every challenge, every opportunity. I believe you. I've seen how you run things. You're good at what you do. Thank you. That means something, coming from you. She paused. Can I ask you something personal? Sure. What Royce said about no one marrying you. Is that something you believe? Booker set down his fork, considering honesty versus self-protection. Sometimes. I've been on enough dating apps where women match with me, see my full body photos, and unmatch immediately. I've had women tell me to my face they don't date fat guys or black guys, let alone fat black guys. So yeah, sometimes I believe it. That's heartbreaking. It's reality. Society treats fat bodies, especially fat black bodies, as inherently undesirable. We're the joke in romantic comedies, the comic relief, never the love interest. And tech culture is even worse. Everyone's obsessed with optimization, including bodies. I hate that you've experienced that. Booker, you deserve someone who sees your worth, who appreciates your mind, your kindness, your... She stopped, blushing slightly. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. No, please, say it. Your smile, the way you light up when you talk about code, how you're patient with junior developers, your hands when you gesture while explaining complex problems. I notice things about you, Booker, have been for months. His breath caught. Why didn't you say anything before? Because you're my employee. There's a power dynamic I didn't want to abuse. But yesterday, watching Royce humiliate you, I realized waiting wasn't protecting you. It was just cowardice on my part. This isn't cowardice. This is... Booker gestured between them. This is brave. For both of us. They talked through dinner, through dessert, through coffee. Conversation flowed easily. They debated everything from tech, industry ethics, to favorite books, to whether pineapple belongs on pizza. Booker said no. Greer defended it passionately. When Greer drove him home, she walked him to his apartment door despite his protests. "I had a wonderful time," she said. "Can we do this again? You really want to?" "Booker, I'm going to keep asking until you believe I'm serious. Yes, I want to see you again. Tomorrow, if you're free." "I'm free." "Good." She stood on her toes and kissed his cheek, soft, quick, but deliberate. "Sleep well, Booker Washington. And think about this. Maybe Royce was wrong. Maybe someone does marry fat black men. Maybe I'm that someone." She left him standing in his doorway, heart racing, barely able to process that this brilliant, beautiful woman was genuinely interested in him. His phone buzzed. A text from Greer. "Thank you for tonight. You're extraordinary." G. Booker smiled, allowing himself to hope for the first time in years. Maybe, just maybe, this was real. They went on 3 more dates before Greer suggested going public at work. They'd been careful, meeting after hours, avoiding company events together, keeping their growing relationship private. But Greer was tired of hiding. "I want to take you to the company gala next Friday," she said over lunch at her apartment, a stunning penthouse in Tribeca that somehow felt warm despite its elegance. "As my date. Officially." Booker nearly choked on his pasta. "The gala? Where the entire company will be? Including Royce?" "Especially including Royce." "Booker, I'm not ashamed of dating you." "Are you ashamed of dating me?" "Of course not. But Greer, you know what will happen. The stares, the whispers, the speculation. Let them speculate. I'm the CEO. You're a valued employee. We're 2 adults choosing to date. We're not breaking any rules. I checked with Ania in HR. Ania was the HR director, a sharp woman who'd apparently given Greer a full briefing on company policy regarding executive relationships. "It's not rules I'm worried about. It's judgment." Greer set down her wine glass and took his hands. "Booker, I know this is scary. I know you've been hurt by people's prejudice. But I'm asking you to be brave with me, to show everyone that what we have is real and worthy of respect. What if they don't respect it? What if they think you're slumming or I'm using you for career advancement? Then they're idiots whose opinions don't matter. The only opinions that matter are yours and mine. So I'm asking, will you come to the gala with me?" Booker looked at their joined hands, her pale fingers intertwined with his darker ones. The contrast that would draw every eye in the room. He thought about Royce's cruel words, about years of being told he was unlovable, about the fear that had kept him from taking risks. Then he looked at Greer, really looked at her, at the hope in her eyes, the genuine affection, the courage it took for her to put their relationship on display, knowing the scrutiny they'd face. "Okay, I'll go with you." Greer's smile was radiant. "Thank you. And Booker, we'll face whatever comes together, I promise." The week leading up to the gala was tense. Someone had leaked that Greer was bringing a date. Speculation ran wild about who it might be. Porter, who'd become friendly with Booker since the Royce incident, warned him that office gossip was brutal. "People are betting on whether it's that venture capitalist she was photographed with last month or the board member's son," Porter said. "No one suspects it's you. They're going to lose their minds." "That's what I'm afraid of." "Hey, man, for what it's worth, I think it's great. Greer's cool and you deserve happiness. Screw anyone who has a problem with it." Booker's sister Sienna was less enthusiastic when he told her, "Book, I love you, but are you sure about this? A white woman CEO? This screams potential disaster. Since when are you against interracial relationships?" "I'm not. I'm against you getting hurt. Remember Tiffany? Remember how crushed you were? Greer's not Tiffany. I hope you're right, because if this goes wrong, you're not just losing a girlfriend. You're losing your job, your reputation, everything. Are you prepared for that?" Honestly, Booker wasn't sure. But when Friday arrived and he picked out his best suit, custom-tailored to actually fit his body properly, an expense he'd justified for rare important occasions, he felt something unexpected. Excitement. Greer picked him up in a car service, looking stunning in a midnight blue gown that highlighted her eyes. When she saw him, her face lit up. "You look incredible," she said. "So do you." In the car, Greer held his hand tightly. "Whatever happens tonight, remember, I chose you. I want to be there with you, and anyone who has a problem with that can talk to me directly." The gala was at a fancy hotel ballroom. As they walked in together, Booker felt every head turn. The conversations didn't stop exactly, but they quieted, people noticing the CEO arriving with her plus-sized black software architect instead of the venture capitalist or board member's son everyone expected. Felicity, Greer's assistant, approached with champagne and a knowing smile. "You two look lovely together. Ready for the show?" "Show?" Booker asked. "Oh, honey," Felicity said not unkindly. "This is going to be the most talked-about thing at Summit Digital for months. Might as well enjoy it." As if on cue, Royce Callahan appeared across the room, his expression transforming from surprise to disbelief to something uglier. "Here we go," Greer murmured. "Stay close to me." Royce approached with his fiancée Vanessa, both looking like they'd seen a ghost. "Greer," Royce said carefully, "I didn't realize you were bringing someone. This is Booker Washington, my boyfriend. I believe you know each other." The way she said boyfriend was deliberate, claiming it proudly. Booker felt something warm spread through his chest. Royce's face went through several expressions before settling on forced politeness. "Washington, surprised to see you here. Surprised to be here," Booker admitted. But Greer insisted. "Well," Royce clearly didn't know what to say. "Congratulations, I suppose. How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments. If you're loving it, type 1. If not, type 0. We want to know what you think." The weekend after the gala, the backlash hit like a tsunami. Someone created an anonymous company message board thread titled CEO Dating Preferences that was thinly veiled gossip about Greer and Booker's relationship. The comments ranged from supportive to viciously cruel. Good for them. Greer's always been unconventional. Is this some kind of diversity PR stunt? Dating a black guy to look progressive? More like a fetish. Rich white women love rescuing black men to feel good about themselves. Let's be honest. She could do way better. Why settle for someone like him? Booker read the thread in his apartment, each comment a fresh wound. Winston, who'd come over with pizza, tried to pry the laptop away. "Stop torturing yourself, man. Anonymous internet trolls aren't worth your mental health." "But these aren't internet trolls. These are my colleagues. People I see every day. People too cowardly to say this stuff to your face. Book, you and Greer knew this would be hard. Don't let them win by making you doubt yourself." Booker's phone rang. Greer. He debated not answering, but Winston glared at him until he picked up. "Hey," Booker said, trying to sound normal. "You've seen the message board." It wasn't a question. "Yeah. Ania's shutting it down and investigating who posted what. There will be consequences for anyone who violated our harassment policy." "Greer, you can't fire half the company for having opinions. I can fire people for creating hostile work environments." "Booker, where are you? I'm coming over." "You don't have to." "I'm already in the car. Text me your address." 20 minutes later, Greer arrived with her own crisis. Her mother, Lennox Ashford, had called after hearing about the relationship through society gossip channels. "She said I was making a spectacle and damaging the family reputation," Greer said, pacing Booker's small living room while Winston discreetly excused himself. "My father, Vaughn, was slightly better. He said, and I quote, 'If you're happy, that's what matters.' But did it have to be so public? They have a point. This is very public. Because I'm tired of hiding. Booker, my whole life has been about managing appearances, meeting expectations, being the perfect daughter who makes appropriate choices. For once, I'm choosing what I want, who I want, and if that makes people uncomfortable, good. Even if it hurts your family relationships, my family relationships have been strained for years. This just brings the tension to the surface." She sat beside him on the couch. "What about your family? What do they think?" "Sienna's worried. Dante thinks it's cool that I'm dating a CEO. My niece Indy asked if you're a princess." He smiled slightly. "I haven't told my parents yet. They'll have opinions. About me being white? About you being my boss. about the power dynamic, about me potentially getting hurt. He took her hand. Greer, maybe they're right. Maybe this is too complicated. Are you breaking up with me? Her voice was small, vulnerable in a way he'd never heard. No. God, no. But I'm scared. Of the judgment, the scrutiny, the constant questioning of whether this is real. Of waking up one day and realizing you've realized you could do better. There is no better. Booker, in the past month, you've made me happier than I've been in years. You're brilliant, kind, funny, patient with my CEO anxiety spirals. You see me, really see me, not as Lennox and Vaughn Ashford's daughter or Summit Digital's CEO, but as Greer. Just Greer. Do you have any idea how rare that is? But what if? No what ifs. Here's what I know. I'm falling in love with you. Completely, terrifyingly in love. And I don't care what message boards or my mother or anyone else thinks about it. The question is, are you falling too? Booker looked at her, at this fierce, beautiful woman who'd chosen him despite every societal expectation telling her not to, who'd stood beside him publicly, knowing the cost, who was sitting in his modest apartment looking at him like he was the most important person in the world. Yeah, he said quietly, I'm falling in love with you too. They kissed, deep and real and full of promise, despite the chaos surrounding them. When they broke apart, Greer rested her forehead against his. Then we fight for this. Together. Whatever comes, we face it together. Deal? Deal. Booker's family dinner was scheduled first, at his parents' home in Philadelphia. The drive down was tense, Greer gripping the steering wheel a bit too tightly while Booker tried to prepare her for his boisterous, opinionated family. My mom's going to ask a million questions. My dad's going to be quiet but judgy. Sienna will interrogate you about your intentions. Dante will probably hit on you inappropriately until someone shuts him down. And Indy will want to know everything about being a CEO. Sounds terrifying. It is, but they're family. And if they see I'm happy, they'll come around, eventually. The Washington house was warm and chaotic. Music playing, food cooking, people talking over each other. Booker's mother, Cecilia, was a force of nature. Short, round, with silver-streaked hair and eyes that saw everything. So, you're the woman dating my son, Cecilia said, looking Greer up and down. Pretty thing, but pretty doesn't mean good. What are your intentions with Booker? Mom, hush, baby, I'm talking to your girlfriend. Cecilia waited expectantly. My intentions are to make Booker happy, Greer said carefully. To support him, respect him, and build something real together. And to prove that love doesn't care about what people look like or what society expects. Good answer. Now come help me in the kitchen. You cook? Not well, but I'm willing to learn. While Greer bonded with his mother over potato salad preparation, Booker's father, Raymond, pulled him aside. Raymond was a retired electrician, a quiet man who expressed love through actions rather than words. She's not what I expected, Raymond said. I know. White, wealthy, my boss. The optics are terrible. I was going to say she looks at you like you hung the moon. That's good optics in my book. Really? Son, you've spent your whole life being told you're not good enough. Too fat, too black, too whatever. And here's this woman who clearly thinks you're everything. That's what matters. Not her race or her money. Whether she sees your worth. She does. Dad, she really does. Then bring her around more. Your mother already loves her, and once Cecilia decides she likes someone, that's it. You're stuck with her approval. Dinner was loud and wonderful. Sienna warmed up after seeing how Greer interacted with Indy, answering the 10-year-old's questions about running a company with genuine enthusiasm. Dante behaved himself after one warning look from Cecilia, and Greer fit into the chaos like she'd always belonged. She's a keeper, Cecilia whispered to Booker as they did dishes. Don't mess this up. I'm trying not to. Try harder. Good women don't come along often. Meeting Greer's parents was a different experience entirely. The Ashford estate in Connecticut was intimidating. Old money, old traditions, old prejudices barely concealed beneath polite society manners. Lennox Ashford greeted them with cool politeness. Mr. Washington, how nice to finally meet you. Please, call me Booker. Mr. Washington is fine. The dismissal was subtle but clear. Vaughn was marginally warmer. So you're the software architect Greer keeps praising? She says you're quite talented. I enjoy my work, sir. Vaughn studied Booker like a specimen. And your family? What do they do? My father was an electrician. My mother worked in hospital administration. They're both retired now. I see. Working class background. That's nice. Dinner was torture. Every question felt like a test Booker was failing. Lennox asked about his education. State school, not Ivy League. His career plans. Passionate about innovation, not corporate ladder climbing. His family connections. None that mattered in their world. Mother, that's enough, Greer said finally, setting down her fork with more force than necessary. You're interrogating him like he's applying for a position, not dating your daughter. I'm simply getting to know the man you've chosen to bring into our family. No, you're trying to find reasons to disapprove. Well, save yourself the effort. I don't need your approval. I'm 35 years old, I run my own company, and I'm in love with Booker. You can either accept that gracefully or keep your opinions to yourself. The silence was deafening. Vaughn cleared his throat. Greer, your mother is simply concerned about appearances, about what people will say, about me dating someone who doesn't fit the narrow mold of acceptability. I get it. But Dad, I'm not marrying someone to make the country club happy. I'm choosing my own life. Did you say marrying? Lennox's voice was faint. Eventually, if Booker wants to. If we both decide that's right for us. Greer took Booker's hand. And before you start catastrophizing, yes, I've thought about the challenges, the judgment, the racism Booker faces that's only intensified by dating me. The scrutiny our children would face. Children? Lennox looked genuinely faint. Mom, breathe. We're not engaged. We're not even talking about marriage yet. But I'm not going to pretend this is casual when it's not. I love him. Deal with it. The ride back to New York was quiet. Finally, Booker spoke. That was intense. I'm sorry. My parents are exactly what I expected. Greer, I'm not surprised your mother's racist. I'm surprised you stood up to her so directly. She needed to hear it. And Booker, I meant what I said. About marriage, about children, about building a life together. Is that something you'd want? Eventually, Booker squeezed her hand. Yeah. With you? Absolutely. 6 months after the gala, Summit Digital faced a crisis. A competitor was attempting a hostile takeover, and the board was divided on how to respond. Greer was working 18-hour days, stressed beyond measure, and Booker watched her wear herself down trying to save the company her father had built. You need to sleep, Booker said one evening, finding her in her office at midnight, reviewing financial documents. I need to save this company. Hollis and 2 other board members want to sell. They're citing my controversial personal choices as evidence of poor judgment that's affecting stock prices. They're using our relationship against you? Using you against me, more specifically. Hollis told me today that dating a diversity hire, his exact words, showed I prioritized personal satisfaction over company welfare. Her voice was bitter. He's pushing for a vote of no confidence. Booker felt rage ignite. I'm not a diversity hire. I earned my position. I know. But Hollis is a racist ass who's been looking for an excuse to oust me since my father died. And apparently, our relationship is excuse enough. Greer, if I'm the liability here, don't you dare finish that sentence. You're not the liability. Bigotry is the liability, and I'm going to fight Hollis with everything I have. The board meeting 3 days later was brutal. Hollis presented his case for selling to the competitor, arguing that under Greer's leadership, Summit Digital had lost focus and prioritized politics over profit. He brought up the message board incident, the FDIC attention following Pinnacle Trust's scandal, which had put all tech companies under scrutiny for discrimination. And yes, Greer's relationship with Booker, the CEO dating an employee, particularly an employee of a different race from a lower socioeconomic background, raises questions about judgment and appropriateness, Hollis said, not even looking at Booker, who sat in the back of the boardroom with other department heads. What exactly are you implying? Greer's voice was ice. I'm saying that appearance matters, and the appearance of the CEO of Summit Digital dating a... Choose your next words very carefully, Greer warned. A controversial employee reflects poorly on our brand. Controversial how? Because he's black? Because he's fat? Or because he's brilliant enough to make you insecure about your own mediocre contributions to this company? The room went silent. Hollis sputtered. That's completely inappropriate. You know what's inappropriate? Using racism and fat phobia to justify a power grab. Hollis, you've wanted my position since my father died. But unlike you, I've actually earned the respect of our employees and clients. Our profits are up 20% since I became CEO. We've expanded into 3 new markets. We've won industry awards for innovation. And yes, I've insisted on creating a more inclusive workplace. If that's controversial to you, maybe Summit Digital isn't the right fit for you anymore. The vote came down to one deciding board member, Anya, the HR director who'd been elevated to the board specifically because of her insight into company culture. She voted to keep Greer as CEO and suggested Hollis's position be reviewed for failure to uphold company values of inclusion and respect. After the meeting, Greer found Booker in his office. She looked exhausted but triumphant. "You won," Booker said. "We won. Booker, I'm done pretending our relationship is anyone's business but ours. I'm done letting people like Hollis use you as a weapon against me. So I'm going to ask you something. And you can absolutely say no because the timing is terrible and we're in the middle of a crisis." She pulled out a ring box. Booker's breath stopped. "Booker Washington, you are the best thing that's ever happened to me. You're brilliant, kind, patient, and you see me in ways no one else does. You've stood by me through board battles and family drama. You've faced racism and fat phobia with dignity. You've made me believe in love again. Will you marry me?" "Greer, I know it's fast. I know it's unconventional for the woman to propose. I know everything about us is complicated. But I also know I love you completely. And I want to prove to the world, to Royce, to Hollis, to everyone who said no one would marry you, that they're wrong. Not as a statement, not as revenge, but because you're the person I want to build my life with." Booker stood, taking the ring box from her trembling hands. Inside was a platinum band. Simple, elegant, perfect. "I love you," Booker said. "I love you so much it terrifies me." "But Greer, are you sure? Because saying yes means everything. It means facing down your parents' disapproval. It means dealing with people's judgment forever. It means marrying the man I love. Yes, I'm sure." "Booker, the question is, are you?" He looked at this fierce, brilliant woman who'd chosen him against all odds, who'd fought for him publicly, who'd proposed to him in his office at their workplace because she refused to hide what they had. "Yes," Booker said, emotion thick in his voice. "I'll marry you. Let's prove them all wrong together." She kissed him, and somewhere in the building, Booker heard cheering. Later, he'd discover that Felicity had been listening at the door and immediately spread the word to the entire company. But in that moment, all that mattered was Greer in his arms and the future they were about to build. The engagement announcement went viral in the tech world. Headlines ranged from celebratory to skeptical. Summit Digital CEO engaged to software architect. Greer Ashford defies expectations with unconventional engagement. Is this tech's most controversial romance? But Booker and Greer didn't care. They planned a wedding that reflected who they were, not some society spectacle, but a genuine celebration of their love. They chose a venue in Brooklyn, near where Booker grew up. They invited colleagues, family, and friends who'd supported them. And yes, they invited the skeptics too, because Greer insisted on showing them exactly how wrong they'd been. Winston was Booker's best man. Felicity stood as Greer's maid of honor. Porter, Anya, and several Summit Digital employees attended, genuinely happy for the couple. Even Darnell from Pinnacle Trust, who'd become friends with Booker after that whole scandal, came to celebrate. Booker's parents beamed throughout the ceremony. Cecilia had embraced Greer completely, treating her like a daughter. Raymond walked Greer down the aisle when Vaughn declined to attend. Lennox had boycotted too, though she'd sent a frosty congratulations card. "She'll come around eventually," Greer had said when the RSVP arrived. "Or she won't. Either way, I'm marrying you." Royce Callahan showed up uninvited, arriving late and clearly drunk. Booker spotted him near the bar, glaring at the happy couple. "Should we have him removed?" Winston asked. Protective instincts activated. "No," Booker said. "Let him watch. Let him see exactly how wrong he was." During the reception, Royce approached while Booker was alone, getting drinks for himself and Greer. "So you actually did it," Royce slurred. Married the CEO. Must feel good, using her to climb the corporate ladder. I married the woman I love. Something you wouldn't understand. Come on, Washington. A woman like that, a guy like you? This is a pity thing. Or a fetish. She'll realize her mistake eventually. Or maybe... Greer appeared beside Booker, slipping her hand into his. Maybe I married the most incredible man I've ever met. Maybe I'm grateful every day that he chose me despite people like you trying to convince him he's unworthy. And Royce, you can leave now. You weren't invited. This is pathetic. You're both pathetic. No, Greer said calmly. What's pathetic is a man so insecure he has to tear others down. What's pathetic is racism and fat phobia disguised as concern. What's pathetic is you showing up drunk to my wedding because you can't handle being wrong. Security. 2 security guards appeared. Booker had insisted on hiring them, knowing Royce might cause trouble. They escorted him out while guests watched in satisfaction. Are you okay? Greer asked Booker once Royce was gone. I'm perfect, because I married you, and he has to live with being himself. I win. The speeches were beautiful. Winston told stories about Booker's journey, the rejections, the hurt, the slow rebuilding of self-worth that led him to being ready for real love. Felicity talked about watching Greer transform from a guarded CEO into someone open and vulnerable with the right person. Sienna cried while talking about how proud she was of her brother for choosing happiness over fear. And when Booker gave his speech, thanking everyone for coming, he addressed the elephant in the room directly. 6 months ago, someone told me that no one marries fat black men, that my body type and race made me inherently undesirable. And I almost believed him, because I'd heard similar things my whole life. He looked at Greer, standing beside him in her wedding dress. But then this woman, this brilliant, stubborn, incredible woman, decided to prove him wrong, not out of pity, not as a political statement, but because she saw worth in me that I'd stopped seeing in myself. Marrying Greer isn't about proving anything to anyone else. It's about choosing love. It's about building a life with someone who sees you completely, flaws, strengths, everything, and chooses you anyway. So to everyone who said this wouldn't work, who questioned our relationship, who assumed this was temporary or performative, thank you. Your doubt made our love stronger. Your prejudice made us braver. And your limitations don't define our future. We're going to build something beautiful. We're going to face racism, fat phobia, and judgment together. We're going to raise kids who understand that love transcends appearance and race. And we're going to prove, every single day, that the narrow definitions of who deserves love are wrong. So here's to proving them wrong. Forever. The room erupted in applause. Greer kissed him, tears streaming down her face. And Booker felt complete in a way he'd never imagined possible. Later, as they danced their first dance as husband and wife, Greer whispered, I love you, Booker Washington. I love you too, Greer Washington. Oh, I'm keeping Ashford professionally. But personally, I'm absolutely a Washington now. Then welcome to the family, Mrs. Washington. They danced surrounded by loved ones, in a venue that represented Booker's roots, celebrating a love that defied expectations. And somewhere in the crowd, Porter raised his glass in a toast. To love that proves them wrong. To courage that changes minds. To Booker and Greer, the most inspiring couple I know. Everyone drank to that. Because sometimes the best revenge against prejudice isn't anger. It's building a life so full of love and authenticity that hate looks ridiculous by comparison. And Booker and Greer had built exactly that. How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments. If you're loving it, type 1. If not, type 0. We want to know what you think. 2 years later, Booker and Greer sat in their Brooklyn brownstone, the one they'd bought together, blending both their styles, watching their daughter, Indy Marie, named after Booker's niece, play with blocks. She has your eyes, Greer said, and your determination. Look at her. She won't stop until that tower's perfect. Our perfect little girl. Do you ever think about that day at the office when Royce said what he said? Every day, because it led me to you, to this. Greer gestured at their life, the home they'd built, the daughter they were raising, the love that had only deepened with time. Worth the fight? Every second. Booker, marrying you was the best decision I ever made, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat, even with all the judgment, the stares, especially with all that, because it proves we chose real love over comfortable acceptance, and that's worth everything. Indy toddled over, demanding attention from both parents. They scooped her up together, a portrait of a family that shouldn't exist according to Royce's narrow worldview, but did, beautifully and completely. "Mama Dada love," Indy said in her toddler voice. "Yes, baby," Booker said, kissing her forehead. "Lots of love." And there was, more than enough to prove everyone wrong.